Many know you, Doc, as an economist, as the politician, as the former tennis player. But please, if you can, tell us a little bit about your family, starting with your parents.
Well, my parents, on the father's side, Samuel Caldwell, Julie Togba, Roberts, Samuel Caldwell, Julie Togba, Roberts. My mother is Victoria Gina Lekai Roberts. Now, we got the Roberts name. My surname, of course, you know, is Tipoteh. But after I got through with my schooling, I came back to Liberia, had a family meeting, and the family said that, the Roberts name came because my father came from Nifu in Grand Cru County as a houseboy. And people were asking him, he's walking barefoot, they were asking, whose boy is that? And we say, it's Robert's boy, Robert's boy. He was living with somebody called Robert Manning as a houseboy. So that's how the Roberts name came. And so when I got through with my schooling, the family decided that I should use my original name. So we dropped the Rudolph and Roberts. I used to be Rudolph and now Roberts. They dropped the Rudolph and Roberts, and then got my father's given name, Togba. Then we added my great-grandfather, Tipoteh. And the Tipoteh name suits me very well because T means, as you know, in Karawin, wrongly called crew, in Karawin, T means time. Po is for thrust or something, Te means thing. So if you have something very important message to carry, then Tipoteh is the name for it. And I feel very honored to have that name because I'm a people's messenger. I'm a people's messenger. So that's, and I was born on July 17, 1941. So this July 17 coming out, by the grace of God, I should be 80 years of age.
Wow, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
So the name Tipoteh, because you were also wearing the sandals that are called Tipoteh. So what I thought was the name came from there. I didn't know it was the other way around.
Yeah, the name came from there. It came from the sandals. You see, to be a good leader, you have to ask two questions. The first question is this what I'm doing good for me? If it's yes, you have to ask another question. Does Dennis Jah and all other people have access to what I'm doing? If the answer is no, I don't do it. If the answer is yes, I do it. So practically for me, having my feet open in sunny weather, it stops from getting itchy toes and all of that. Is very good to have your feet aired, so forth. So I got them wearing sandals, and now coming back home as an economist, open my big mouth about the economy, supporting Liberian businesses. So there's a David Colley on Johnson Street between Kerry and Benson. It's still there. And so he had rubber tires and things. I said, well, let's do some rubber sandals. And he did the rubber sandals. And I told him, I said, I don't want, he's got built three houses, and you want to give him some money. I said, no. And today now, he's manufacturing some things for cars.
Oh, he's still there.
Yeah, he's manufacturing some things for cars. And on my 75th birthday, some of my friends come there with Dr. Woloko, Dr. Emma Soy, they surprised me. They brought about a dozen of those Tipoteh sandals back. And President Selig was there. She wanted to wear one right away, and they gave her one, So that's the background for the sandals. And I wear sandals.
So those sandals were actually named after you?
Well, yes, they were named after me. But they're not the first. They're not the first sandals in the world. But the particular sandals made a rubber tire here, and now they are manufacturing bushings from rubber. There's David Colley there on they're manufacturing bushings. So that's very good. And he's built three houses.
Oh, great. So were you wearing those sandals to make a political statements, and are you still wearing them?
I wore them. I gave you the background, but you try to be a good journalist. You know the answer, but you want other people to know what it is. I've already told you that. It's in a hot sun. It doesn't make sense to wear socks, shoes. You get itch your toes and all in a hot sun. So I started, but then for good leadership, I said, does David Jah and do the other people have access to what I'm doing? If the answer is yes, then I do it. So the answer for me is yes. In at University of Liberia, many students, I need to call the name, came from outside of Monrovia because they could wear sandals and VE shirts. That, Vi, of course, is wrongly called Vi, but it's VE shirts and things. So they could come to school instead of wearing coat and tie or something and long sleeve shirt and some Western type dress. So they could come to school, and it was very practical. But it started with me. Is it good for me? Yes, it's good for me. I won't have itchy toes and my feet will get warm. But as I'm a leader, I have to ask another question. Is it good for Dennis Jah and others?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, I don't do it. If it's yes, so the answer was yes, and people started coming to university, and they couldn't put them on because the professor there were wearing sandals, and wearing VE shirts, Liberian shirts, and so that's how it is. Like you see,
And
one
I
of this next shirt outfit I have now was made in Lofa County.
Yeah.
So,
and you also popularize, right? You also popularize this kind of shirt because every time we look at you, you are wearing Tipoteh sandals and then the VE shirt and all that.
Liberian shirts. It boosts employment, and also the most important thing it boosts is that it de-westernizes the mentality, because we are slaves to the Western mentality. That and it still persists. I know this will come out in the interview somewhere. It de-westernizes us, and it gives us a basis for moving on our Liberian culture.
Right.
On our Liberian culture, you see, and this is important because you can never make a progress if you don't go on the basis of your culture.
Exactly. And you were also trying to draw that contrast between maybe the elite class wearing suits. Was that something that you were trying to do?
Well, basically, I started out doing something that's good for me, but is it good for others? Then next thing, of course, is that I was already in the work of trying to help people to help themselves in solving the number one problem we still have in this country. And that problem is the long-standing and widespread poverty, where over 80% of the people in the country have access to less than $2 United States a day. You see. So then if you're wearing something that you can afford, and then of course you can move beyond subsistence farming because you can now produce some of these things and sell them and get some money from them. You say, oh, well, I can wear them. And so this chap on Johnson Street, I tell you, Colin, he made a lot of money. And he built 3 houses.
Right.
He built 3 houses because he's now into making bushings, and so that's really the main reason behind it. Of course, if it tended to educate people on the point that we have a management of the state that is greed driven. It's greed driven, and as I say, what is I, me, and myself, Diana, I, me, and myself. You see, but we go forward on the basis of not for self, but for others.
Yeah,
that's how you go forward, not for self, but for others.
Thank you. And Doc, I must admit, we're honored to have you here because growing up, we heard the name Tipoteh and we thought of you as a mythical figure. And I'll share with you some of the things that I heard. And one of those things is when you visited your hometown of Nifu. In Nifu, they say when you were coming there, the big cotton tree fell, which demonstrated that a great man is in town. And then when you got to Nifu, there were festivities. People wanted to host you in a big, elaborate building and feed you with what they call quick food. But instead, you pick up roasted cassava and roast it. And then when it was time for bed, you roll your mat on the floor. All kinds of stories we're hearing about Dr. Tipoteh. That's one of them. Are these things just stories or they really happen? And I have 2 more. Dad, can you hear me? Well, we seem to be having some issue there with Dr. Tipoteh. Again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. We are in conversation with Dr. Tipoteh, who's turning 80 on July 17th, and this show is intended to show a reflection. Dr. Tipoteh will be looking back on his career that spanned over 50 years, and he's going to be sharing with us his thoughts and some of his suggestions for a vibrant country, Liberia. And while we are waiting for Dr. Tipoteh to join in, we are having some feedback here. Some Jerome Gilman say, welcome statesman. Rav Terkwe, great leader. Amon Songa, wow, this is my first time seeing Dr. Tipoteh being interviewed, first time seeing him ever. Emmanuel Faflan, happy pre-birthday, Uncle. Dr. Batam Kula, Dr. Tipoteh, why didn't you run for the House and Senate instead of trying to be president? If he's here, he's going to answer those questions. I'm not being allowed to share this show. Am I the only one in the audience? I don't know why, but you should be able to share the show, Amos. 79 years old with a vibrant voice is a blessing. Yanin San, the Dr. Tipoteh, man who helped lay the foundation for democratic change in Liberia. Wow, still looking good. God bless. Being your fan since I was 8 years old. Emmanuel Rogers, how can the name be from your family and at the same time be related to politics? We were told that you choose the sandals to identify with the poor people. Yes, he said Tipoteh, that's his grandfather's name. And then because he was wearing those sandals, people named the sandals after him. Dr. Kula, Dr. Tipoteh is sad, but the Europeans use Africans for years. We don't get it. If we eat their food, wear their clothes, and consume their culture, we keep their people employed and enrich for generations. Emmanuel Rogers also said, we've been misled by your entire Sanders story. Emmanuel, please be clear what the misleading information. Eugenia said, the great Dr. Tipoteh, my late dad told me about you. Sam Chie Jackson, Dr. Tipoteh looks good more than some of the young people. Man, don't throw shade at us now. You're throwing shades that the young people will say. All right, John, is Dr. Tipoteh older than Mr. Waka? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia. We'll try it as much as we can to get Dr. Tipoteh back on the show. We cannot afford not to have him, and at the back room there, if you can reach out.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Dr. Togba-Nah Tipoteh is one of the founding members, is in fact the founder of the Movement for Justice in Africa, and this was the time in 1973. So since then, Moja Empire make up what we know today as the Progressive. We're going to be asking Dr. Tipoteh. The picture you see there was Dr. Tipoteh when he was studying in the United States. According to what we read, he got his first degree from Liberia. He came here in 1963. 1964, he got 1963. He got his bachelor. 1964, master's. And I believe 68, he got his doctorate from University of Nebraska. And he went back and he's been part of the Liberian government. He also worked in other African countries. He has run 3 times for the presidency, and of those 3 times, he came up short. we're going to be going into all that. We're going to be discussing about Dr. Tipoteh and the economist, Dr. Tipoteh, the politician, and also the educator, and Dr. Tipoteh as the tennis player as well. We have all this, and we are waiting for Dr. Tipoteh to come back so that we can go into our discussion. And if you have questions for Dr. Tipoteh as he reflects on those years, spending over 50 years of being active in Liberian politics, we're going to be discussing all that. So keep your questions and your comments coming as we try frantically to get Doug back on the phone. And some of the issues we're going to be discussing here is a lot of people blame the progressives, right? Saying, well, the progressive agitated for change. In fact, the 1979 rice demonstration, Dr. Tipoteh. Yeah, hold on. If we can do it on the phone, we can do that.
But I think I will do it on the phone then because I'm having problems with the laptop.
Okay, so I think we're able to hear you. Audience, if you're able to hear Dr. Tipoteh, please give us a thumbs up so let's know that you are hearing him loud and clear. Dr. Tipoteh, say something, please.
Well, I'm happy to be in the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Dr. Tipoteh, the question I was asking was the many stories that we heard about you that make us think that you were a mythical figure. One of it I said was when you visited Nifu, they said a big cotton tree fell to demonstrate that the great man of Nifu was coming.
Well, you heard that story. I'll just leave it as it is.
Okay.
It's up to them to determine whether I'm great or not.
All right.
It's not for me to say that.
Right. And they say when you got there, everybody was trying to, in essence, people, there's the way you carry yourself. So there have been some stories about who is Dr. Tipoteh. So that's what I'm getting into. In my, they say when you went there, they were trying to get you some nice food and this, and you decided to take a roasted cassava. At night, you spread your mat on the floor to show that you were identifying with the people. So these were all the stories that we were hearing. And
well, perhaps another story didn't hear is that when I came from the United States of America,
yeah,
I couldn't speak Krawing.
Yeah.
And because in Monrovia, you try to speak some Liberian language, you just push aside, and you wear Liberian clothing, you push aside, and so it got so westernized, here. And so it took me 2 years before I went to Nifu. So 2 years. When I got there, I could speak Krawing because it would be a disgrace for me if I got there and the little children would say, "Oh, the big man has come to town," but they would have to carry my English and put it into Krawing. That would be a disgrace for me. So I took 2 years. I worked with some old people here, and I got there. I was speaking, and so when I was about to leave, we don't have secret societies there in terms of the Sandy Bush and the Poro Bush. We don't have it there, but we have what we call Tuedagwe. Tuedagwe is where you go under the tree and sit with the old people.
Yeah.
And so they felt that I had deserved time to get under the tree to sit with the old people. And they said to me now, as you're about to leave, anything bothered you? And I said, "Oh no, nothing bothered me except this one thing is that my cousin Tane fixed some palm butter rice and so forth, but there was no kikanan there. Kikanan is rice crust. Kikanan. I said there was no kikanan there. And they said Tane. They called Tane. I said, "Come on, what are you keeping the kikanan for? Do you know that this is the man in the house that the kikanan is supposed to be for?" And she brought a kikanan.
All right.
And an extension of that is that, I'm married now to a woman, Fatu, from Lofa.
Yeah.
In fact, her father died recently, a week ago, at the age of 92. Peace be with his ashes.
Right.
He died from non-COVID complications.
Oh, our condolences.
And so she's from Lofa County, Fatu, and she now has the Department of Procurement at University of Liberia. But I make this joke about it. make this joke. And I said, well, look, Fatu, if you do not know how to fix palm butter rice, especially with the rice cross on it, I think it will be grounds for divorce. And so Senator Comden-Wisse came by here yesterday, spent the whole afternoon here yesterday. And my wife gave him some palm butter. And so I say, he ate one plate and he said, this thing is very good. He ate another plate. I said, yeah, that's why I married her.
All right. That's great. With the cooking.
That's just one of the, someone, Dr. Francis said you have to have a good laughter 2 times a day. It's good for mental health.
Exactly. And here's another. Here's another laughter. They say when you went to London and you asked the people you wanted Canticode, which is the crew name for seat, and everybody was looking in the dictionary for Canticode because it's the Dr. Tipoteh who is speaking. but this one that I witnessed.
The other thing related to England, talk and bring talk.
Yeah.
There were some Englishmen who came here, and people were talking. Man, where you going? What is that? Where you going? What is that? And the Englishman said to me, "Is that English you're speaking?" And I gave him the best British accent I could have. I just put him. You want to speak the British where you put your finger over your upper lip. Because I just squeezed my upper lip and I said, yes, indeed, they are speaking English. And I said, by the way, does your queen speak Pele? I said that to him. He shut him up.
Yeah.
I was saying, well, at least our people know to speak English, but you can't even speak one word of Pele.
I know.
So just give it right back to you.
Right. Let me ask this question now on as an economist. And I will start with what I heard in my hometown of Dodwicken in Sino County. So there was this man, old man, Daniel Count. He said the man Tipoteh knows economics so much, he can take $1 and divide it on everybody in Dodwicken and some will leave over. Dr. Tipoteh, can you divide $1 on all of us and some leave over?
Well, that is not possible. But you see what you can... what it is that I think the meaning of that is this.
Yeah.
That Dr. Tipoteh is able to take what he has and share with many people. You see, and that is, and what has God given me? What's the number one asset that God has given us? And we all our national leaders, political leaders, government leaders, religious leaders ignore this. The number one asset is what you call human resource.
Okay.
If you give Tipoteh $1 billion and you give Dennis, and he has no good heart for the people, you give Dennis Jar $1,000. Who would do? And Dennis Jar has a good heart for people. Who would do better? Dennis Jar would do better.
Right.
You see, so that's the meaning of that. Is that because now I work. Given the religious background from my grandparents and parents, so forth, and the gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 22, verses 34 to 40. When Peter asked Jesus Christ, he said, but look, all this talk about commandments, what's the greatest commandment? And what did Jesus Christ say to the disciple Peter? He said, love God first, and then you love your neighbor as yourself. Right. So now, I have learned over the years that money is not the most important thing. Right. So that whatever I have, and what I have is knowledge then. And I get some knowledge from you. I'm listening to you. I learn something from you and others. So you learn to use this. In fact, at the beginning of the program, when the Pentecostal singers were singing, I wrote a song in Pele. I wrote a song in Pele about how God works. And when God moves, there's always peace because God does not pick and choose. You see, so now this benefits everybody who loves Liberia. I said, this is the meaning in what this man said in Sino. Is that I can take $1 and divide it up for everybody to get. That's what he means. And
all right.
See, that's the meaning of it.
So Dr. Tipoteh, what did you really envisage of the Liberian economy during your early days of activism in Liberia?
Well, I did my research, and my doctoral dissertation. Okay. And, with the help of God, I was able to graduate in the United States of America at the age of 27.
Oh,
And so I worked with the poverty program there, and I came back home in 1971, and so it gave me a good background, because the number one problem in this country remains what perennial and pervasive poverty, I mean, long-standing and widespread poverty. You get data from the 1950s, where you had less than 1% of the people of Liberia accounting for over 60% of the income and wealth. Now today, you have legislators having access to $1,000 a day. Business people in the commercial sector access to $2 million United States dollars a day. And over 80% of the people in Liberia remain poor with access to less than $2 a day. So we have to do what we can to sensitize people, motivate people so that they can be able to help themselves. So this is the main work, and I found this out. And why are we in such a dismal condition? It's because we have greed-driven people. We had even from the slave time, these chiefs who are selling selling us, as slaves. And then, of course, the Firestone, you have a truck packer sent to Firestone, each chief who did that got $200 United States dollars, and you see, so greed-driven people. And what was the what you might call it, synonymity? What was the congruence? What was the similarity between them and the other people? Greed. They're both greed-driven.
Right.
And so now people managing the state say, well, look, what God has given us. This is where my theology of economics come together. Right. So what God has given us, we don't want it. God has given us, for instance, the number one thing, a human resource. No, we don't want him. So now we're paying $250,000, $25,000 a month to Ed Royce, the Republican senator in the United States of America, to do public relations for us. We gave another $250,000 a year to a lady to do professor of economics. We gave Professor Collier from England $500,000 to come do some economic advice here. And and what is it? Is that the production of raw materials for export. Right. We don't add any value. You see, we have here now. We have what you call now we have rubber. And let me get straight to the point. We don't even make condoms here. Yeah. I'm not talking about rubber tires. We have IO. We don't make steel rods here. Right. No value added. So what happens is that we produce what we do not consume, and we consume what we do not produce. And this thing came, out of the dissertation I did. My dissertation was on poverty alleviation, what you call negative income taxation and work effort. Right. The implications for poverty. And Dr. Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who was senior advisor to the President of the United States at that time, took great interest in what I was doing, because you couldn't get data on this, in the United States. I think there were 3 sources they had. And so it was not surprised when I got through my school. I spent a year there to work with within the anti-poverty program in the United States of America as an advisor. And I came back home. Right. And then in that spirit that we set up Susuku in 1971. Right. So, because we have this production of raw materials for export is a poverty generation system. Right. It generates poverty. That's where the poverty comes from that we have today. Because now I can't get here full of talking, and don't give you tell you where the source of the problem is and how to get it solved. Exactly. So and this is my main work. That's where it comes from. What God gives a woman. So then the foreigners gave us the small thing, and that's where the corruption comes in. And people say they get a small thing, so forth now, and you have, as I said, legislators have access to $1,000 United States dollars a day. Right. So now, over 80% of people in Liberia have access to less than $2 a day. Right. So Doug, what was what was your prescription to address the poverty issue? Well, first thing is that this thing, I said, well, you have to lead by example. So we set up Susuku. Susuku is 50 years old now, you see. And and this is basically to try to help people help themselves, to move from subsistence farming. And one of the things we did, for instance, during the war, we got former machine shop people from Lamco, Delbo and some others in Buchanan there, and they came from UK part of Buchanan there, and we sent a 45 kVA generator there, and from scrap materials, we made world export quality farm tools. Because over 5 centuries ago, our people had places to smelt iron all around the country.
Yeah.
You go even where you from, your village. You go back there now, you'll find smelting plants there. They didn't used to plant cassava, eddo, rice, and things by digging the hole with their hands. No, they had farm tools.
Right.
What they do? They made the farm tools. We're going backwards now because we manufacture farm tools there in Buchanan. The war destroyed the situation because the fighting so forth destroyed. We got former combatants, displaced people, and these machinists from Lamco combined. They set up a big farm there. And now, so today we're importing farm tools. We told the government, say, well, look, we can make this farm tool, put them on exhibit at the Susuku office in Monrovia down Broad Street, opposite BW Harris School at the time. And the government didn't pay any attention to it. They just left it alone. So the situation we're in now is that the person who puts the people who put the house called Liberia on fire should not be expected to bring water to put the fire out because it's nonsensical and it's also unscientific. Because they benefit from seeing the house being put on fire. In fact, they benefit from corruption. You see, they benefit from autocratic regime. They benefit from poverty generation. They benefit from production of export, production of raw materials for export. No value addition. And then of course we buy. The value is added in a foreign country. And then when they bring back these things they manufacture, we buy them too. Yeah. We've been even getting to the Liberian Market Association and say, look at Claratown, Vittown. You pass through there, not to mention all past the country. They're buying these products from Europe. We say, okay, fine. There's some products we cannot make here. Okay, those products we cannot make here. We can set up corporations, and marketers that can import these products. And those things that we can make here, like pepper, bitter ball, so we don't have to buy them from Guinea. Right. We can set up corporation and produce them here. Yeah. So now the corruption is so much that the marketers are paying $200 Liberian a week, and the Liberian Market Association are collecting for $20 million Liberian a week. And you see that for the tables and so forth, and you don't see these things going. You see them rushing to the foreigners and in Claratown, and
and that I have a lot of questions when it comes to our current situation. But before we get there,
I'm flexible.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, before we get there, so with the poverty and how we solve it, what is Dr. Tipoteh's economic philosophy that even after you depart this world, that we can look at and say, this is Dr. Tipoteh's philosophy when it comes to the economy?
Well, actually, I'm into collectivity rather than personalization. Okay. That actually where I work is that but you ask the question is that what knowledge do I contribute? What is it, the knowledge that I contribute? And for instance, there are a lot of young people that we help, and they've come along. They're now in private and public sectors. So that's one way too, is you pass the knowledge to people, and people abroad, and some of them went to study and so forth. For instance, I'll just mention one example. When I was in exile, I was visiting professor of economics at the Institute of Social Studies in The Hague. It's the university that they have there to get the people trained in development economics. And so I arranged for James Fomoyan and Shafa Kamara through Susuku to get there. Shafa Kamara earned 2 master's degrees before the former UN and DP representative here from Cameroon got 1 degree from there. And then, of course, Shafa Kamara now has formed an international NGO based in Ghana, and And they are working to improve, especially economic conditions in the northern part of Ghana. It's just like the northern part of Nigeria, which is very, very, very poor. Yeah. And so that's just an example. But then to the point with the philosophy, it's basically, as I said, my theology and economics combined. What God has given you, don't give it away. Mm-hmm. So now is that the knowledge we have, we have the knowledge we have. And schooling is very good, especially what we learn out of school. Well, in school, we go about 6 hours and 24 hours. So most of the time, we learn out of school. And most of the people who don't know a book, we call them illiterates. Right. But we have an expression in Clawin, is Tipoteh, Tipoteh, it's a talk on. You see, people know book but don't have sense. Yeah. And our book here is not based on our culture, so we don't know how to solve our problems. So you ask the question is, what is my contribution? What's my philosophy? So what's my contribution in this? And it's just spreading knowledge that can spreading knowledge to motivate people to take non-violent actions, to work with what they have, to improve themselves. For instance, you have a lot of forests around, but Nado Bropley did his doctoral dissertation and on showing that you can plant rice and other things, do some farming in the midst of forests. That you can have logging and this farming going together. But you have to know how to do it. Just the same way when I was abroad, I got some funding from the Dutch government to go to the eastern part of Africa and southeastern part of Africa. And Sudan is that the people that were there, the indigenous people, had a way of moving the cattle around, and a set of wells. So that there was a relationship between the wells and the cattle there. So except Saudi Arabia messed this up, they brought a lot of money there and importing a lot of cattle to Saudi Arabia, you see. But so this means that the people who have a lot of money and are greed-driven, and they just want to have foreigners come here and take control, dominate our economy, and they get some small thing from it, and I would get them to survive. I have a pile of girlfriends, a pile of houses abroad, houses here, so forth, that kind of situation. Well, it's not easy to struggle against. So that's why I'm 79, going 80. I thank you for this because I spread the word. I'm not tired.
I can see that.
Is to give up on children here and children of the world. We cannot get tired. And as you say, what philosophy are you living now? And this is a philosophy of working, using what you have, sharing knowledge. And this knowledge that is knowledge not only with book people. We have a lot of illiterates here, illiterate people here. Most of the people here are illiterate, and we don't regard them. The state management does not regard them because they say they don't know book. Just like we don't regard men and women, we think women are just for bedroom and the kitchen, So we disregard it. And so most of the people who can make important contribution to the economy, we disregard them.
I left out.
And we're looking at foreigners. We disregard them. These are basic errors. They continue to be made. But if you see my website, you see the commentaries. I'm writing commentaries, and I've got 2 books coming out this month. 2 books coming out this month. Just writing and working with many persons possible to get this point across. Is that share your knowledge in ways to motivate people. Even if God help me, I can sing. As I said, I was tempted to even sing a song in Pele. Sing it sometime. I can do that.
I hope we have time to do that.
It's a way of sharing knowledge.
Definitely.
Knowledge, when you ask me, what philosophy are you living? Sharing knowledge to motivate people.
Wonderful. That's
change
profound.
their living conditions.
That's profound. So you went back to Liberia 1971, and 1973 you started Moja. What was your motivation to get into politics and be there for over almost 50 years now? What motivated you?
Well, the reason is this. Is that we started, what do we start with Susuku? Because we say, well, people here are hungry. They don't have enough land to grow food. And they even operating below subsistence. So you can't go to them and start talking about, you can't go to them and start talking about how to run a country or something like that. You attend to. So the Susuku is there. It's a poverty alleviation organization. And then we work mainly in the poorest part of the country. In the southeast, and we didn't go to my village. We went to Putu in Grand Jide County, and we used as a base, and we worked from there. You see, so the situation is that we found out while working that really the people who have control of the state are not into helping them to help themselves.
Yeah.
So then we say, well, we have to raise consciousness about this. And there's the consciousness to raise about this, what was through the movement for justice in Africa. And we started out, we call it Movement for Justice in Africa, because if you say Movement for Justice in Liberia, there's some group called Movement for Justice in Liberia now. I really don't know much about them. And but we say Movement for Justice in Africa, so they would think that this movement is just an anti-apartheid type of movement. They won't come rushing to crush us right away, because the Three Party, they're just they're very powerful. And even President Togba sought membership, and he was granted membership into Moja. But he withdrew his membership once we found out that his relative was importing some wine from Portugal, Maduro-Tonian wine, and they were in support of apartheid. And the deputy foreign minister from Taiwan came to Liberia, so we went to the airport and put placards up. When he found out those things, and then we brought a great movie by Brother Simbene from Senegal about apartheid. It was smuggled out of South Africa, and the movie showed. And we said, well, look, just like President Mandela said, Madiba Mandela, is that I'm against white oppression, I'm against black oppression. And if I have to die for this, then so be it. Right. He was in prison for 27 years, that. So we said, well, look, this thing here is a black oppression. So this in Liberia is a form of apartheid.
Right. So
but it's black on black. It's not white on black as in South Africa. And that's why I wrote a commentary. You probably saw the commentary. American Liberian rule and Native Liberian rule the same. Because you have Buthelezi in South Africa, who's a black man who was supporting apartheid. But then you have Mandela there too. And he was a black man, You see, so, but the thing that we have to go forward with is that in the American Liberian side, on the former slave side, and then the indigenous Liberian, we got good people. Right. So the work now we have to do is to put together the good people. And this is why we try to do through Moja. And then we say, well, look, it's a social movement, but then we have to get some political party. Right. And now we find there's so many political parties that when Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, who's from Moja, and myself went to the Supreme Court to expose that the National Election Commission is not good, because the most important thing to do right now is to change the National Electoral Commission so it can be a fair one. You got U.S. citizens there. You got the voter registration thing not cleaned up. You got bad voter registration machines. You have non-vetting of people at the centers there. It's not in good condition. And unless you change the electoral condition for the better, electoral commission for the better, you cannot elect good people. And that's why you have elections going through here, but the elections are fair.
That, let me understand.
And the referendum went. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me understand something. Did you say President Togba withdrew his membership, or he was kicked out from Moja? I didn't get that part clear.
President Togba.
Did he withdraw
his membership? We didn't kick him up. He withdrew his membership when he found out that what we're really up against.
Okay. So what were some of the issues with the Togba government, and what was your approach in advocating or in conscientizing the people?
It's the same situation here. They were greed-driven into production of raw materials for export. And we found out that they were not interested in poverty alleviation. They were more in poverty generation through this production of raw materials for export. They were not interested in helping the farmers to help themselves. So we said then we have to raise consciousness. Right. And then you raising consciousness, you get in the political process, because politics is about power. Right. It's about power. And Jesus Christ came to give power to the oppressed, because the relative situation was bad. Few people getting power, and the masses, it tends to lead to be used as a pretext by greedy people for violence. That's how the Civil War came out here. If the poor people didn't go out there to make AK-47 and so forth, the greedy people came and said, oh, the government, I go, the government built, so they went abroad and got AK-47 from the partners who were investing here in the raw materials industry, so forth. And so that's so in order to raise this consciousness, we then have, that's why the end is political work, social movement, that we say we have to get a political party. But now the point is that when you have so many political parties, and the political parties they really, none of the political parties came to support me when I went to the Supreme Court. I was the only one went to the Supreme Court saying that the electoral process need to be changed. I was the only one.
Yeah.
You know, not because I'm the only person who knows something in the country, but it's as a leader. You know, but none of the political parties, none of them, not a single one. Not a single one. And you see, they're full of talk today, full of talk.
Right.
Not one of them is coming into solutions, the value addition or changing the electoral system. Not a single one of them.
Yeah.
So we're now looking possibility of Moja, because Moja is very popular. You know, if you come here now and we walk the street, you will hear people shouting, cheering me, Moja. But we need to depersonalize this. And institutionalize it so that it can be then a mass political movement that can then change the electoral system so we can be able to elect good people. Yeah. That's what we need to do.
Correct. And we'll come to that. Now, the Power and Moja together, we call them the progressive up to today. Many believe, and I'm going to talk about 1979, 1980. Many blame, the progressive for the 1979 Rise demonstration, and I saw in one of your writing that this was not even Rise riot. You don't know why they continue to call it that way. So 1979 demonstration, or the Rise demonstration, and also the 1980 coup, or the assassination of President Togba. Many fingers have been pointed to Moja over the years. Do you care to explain the role of the progressive in the Rise?
It's a good question. That's why I say you're a good journalist too. You know to answer the question, but this whole program is to raise awareness among people. So it's a good question.
Thank you.
Now, when we were celebrating the 6th anniversary of Moja on March 21st at the Sports Commission, Mr. Barcos Matthews, who was the head of the Progressive Alliance Like Repel, at the time came, said he wanted to bring greetings. So we said, no, workers' organization, farmers' organization, student organization, bring greetings. So you bring greetings. Senator Comner, we said, was chairman of the program there. I was there. I said, bring greetings. But he got there. Instead of bringing greetings, he just said, well, there will be a demonstration against the proposed increase in the price of life. And of course, the people were cheering because they figured out that Mr. Matthews, and because when Matthews came from the United States of America, he's a relative of President Togba, but they had problems with him at the consulate there, and they formed a Progressive Alliance. And so, as we speak now, we want to pray to God and thank God for the life of Wesley Momo Johnson. And may his soul rest. He passed away 3 days ago. Wesley Momo Johnson was with Barcos Matthews, and he was ambassador to the UK. Then he was vice head of state, under Julia Bryan.
Correct.
And in fact, he lived walking distance from my house here, and so he has passed away. And so as we're speaking, just peace be to his ashes. Having said that, so he's announced. People jump up and down, and so I could have got up there as founding leader of Moja and said, look, this is not from us. Because when Mr. Matthews came from America, he used to come to our office almost every day. And people, used to say, oh, well, these people are working together. But he used to come there every day because he wasn't well known, And of course, from that announcement that he became very well known, But we said, well, no, we Moja did not plan this. We didn't plan, and So what happened on the day, April 14th? What happened is that we had gone. In fact, we had some people sit in my bedroom on the floor and saying there was some high military official came to my father at 3 o'clock in the morning to tell him, he said that you should encourage people to go out in the streets on that day because they will come shooting. So we went and told the power people. We went and told them. And they gathered, some of them gathered, about 100, 120 or so, gathered at their office on Gorilla Street, near UN Drive. They gathered there. But they did not demonstrate. When they gathered there, the chief of police came with some people and started shooting. And then there was a soldier, a colonel, at the old defense department, now ministry, on Benson Street, the BT Framer building there. And he shot and killed one young lady on Lynch and Johnson Street. All right, but that was the only shooting from soldier that we know about. Then, but the police did the shooting there, and people started running around, scared from the shooting, and some people started looting the stores. You see, and that's why it's wrong to say that the so-called progressives did the rice riots. This is wrong.
Right, but Doug,
was there looting on that day? Yes, there was looting. There was looting, but it's not to say that. In fact, being a founding leader of the movement for justice in Africa, and we there since 1973, we were not the ones who, and that's why when they say riots, I say, well, that has to do with something else. I don't know you understand what I said.
Right, I understood, and you call it massacre. But why does this story persist for over 3 decades now? That people.
But now. Yeah, but just like an elephant comes and kills your baby, but you're looking for the rabbit to blame. You see, we have a lot of philosophical sayings from our people. Elephant kill your baby, then you come and look for rabbit to blame. Right,
because you are saying there was no demonstration, no riot. The power people gathered at power office.
There was no demonstration coming from what the people call progressives or so, because Moja didn't have people in the street, nothing at all. In fact, the government used this as an opportunity to imprison a lot of Moja people.
Yeah.
You see, so they grab it, they just make somebody comes to Dennis Jar there, oh, he's a Christian, so they come and grab you. They make it and use the publicity, everything, and make it look like you're a demon, and they come and grab you, but you're not.
Right.
But you see, is that you are basically saying something that is against their interest, because you are saying something that is against their greed, their corruption.
Right.
You see, and you're mobilizing people from it. You're not costing them out or so. You know.
So the general
that's the method being used.
So the narrative had been President Togba was doing well. He was opening up. He was trying to change from the way old man Togba was doing business. So things were really moving forward. But it was the progressive that they couldn't be patient. Was Mr. Togba doing everything okay, and you guys were still agitating?
Excuse me. Another thing too in our analysis we're wrong. We always just President Togba, like that one man can be doing this. That one man doing so forth, and it's not institutional. I mean, it's not. One man doesn't do. But anyway, she's the one you won't put his name on it. But look, when all this thing happening. Then we look at the data.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You look at that, and the main information to look at is that are the people getting poorer or not? And you look at the information. There are a whole lot of talk back and forth. Oh, this we're doing this thing. Even some people are blaming us for the killing of Togba, that we brought the coup that killed Togba. So and of course the president's own wife has written and said there's some white man who shot him. But maybe you don't want to get into that. But I know there was some political officer from the United States Embassy who used to be running around, a young chap. He was in the mansion here around 3 o'clock in the morning. Liberia is effectively a colony of the United States of America. You see, so we have to realize these things. And why is that so? Because they're interested in the production of raw materials for export. That's the main interest. They don't really care who runs the country and so forth. Look at when Doe came to power. The American government for each year that Doe was in power gave the Liberian government half $1 billion, $500 million each year. You see, so then when these questions come like that, you have to look into the information. Oh yes, this we're doing something, we're doing progress, so this and that, so forth. And making all this kind of progress going on, is that, but at the end of the day, you have to look and say, how about the people? The people, the poor people.
Yeah.
Are the poor people better off? Are they better off? You have to look at the data.
Right.
You see?
And what's your answer to that?
Some of us are to blame for this. Have we ever run a state here before? Have we ever dominated the legislature, dominated the state before? No.
So that
head of state power.
Yeah. So let's fast forward.
So forth. Here I am. I'm founding leader of Moja, and I got my doctorate degree in economics at 27 years of age. I could be a billionaire today.
Yeah.
I could be a billionaire. I have offers for over $100,000 a month. No, a year. Yeah, $100,000 a month. Working abroad. I'm not doing that. I made a choice. I said, well, there are two choices. You can be driven by money, or you be driven by reason. So I said, well, I'm not going to be driven by money. And unfortunately, my wife is the same way. So we have to buy rice by cup, buy rice by cup. We control our stomachs. We control our stomachs. And so some of you might be wondering too, how come I'm trying to talk and so forth, this and this, we control our stomachs. And so this is it. I do agree with you that there are many people still going around.
Yeah.
Elephant kill your baby, but you can't put it.
You're looking for the rabbit.
Start looking for rabbit.
Yeah.
Okay?
So Dr. Tipoteh, let's
we are the rabbits.
Yeah, let's fast forward to 1980, 81. PRC is in government. One of the criticism is it was dominated by the progressive, and you in particular, you were planning minister, and according to what I heard, you advised on the abolition of the hot tax. And so let's talk about the progressive in the Doe government. What power did you have, and what change did you implement?
Yeah, look at this. Whatever government came,
yeah,
and right, and so forth. There was no domination led by me, because the reason I'm saying so, like I'm the leader of the only national social movement in the country that's moving for justice in Africa. Yeah. I'm the founding leader of it. I'm not the president. I'm the founding leader. So I can speak with authority about this. So I was minister of planning. Yeah. Why do you think I resigned after a year? Why did I resign?
Yeah.
Huh? And they tried to kill me. Why do you think I resigned? I was at the African Academy of Sciences meeting in Tanzania, and a car came from the wrong side of the traffic and knocked me over.
Wow. And
with Professor Hansen from Ghana there, it hit Professor Hansen and killed him instantly. But, because of my athletics or so what, is that, my body sustained the falling down. I got unconscious, but it didn't kill me. But Professor Hansen, it was a suicidal attempt. So the one here where this person from Haiti, Fritz, there had a gun on my stomach in the Alberport case. You see, so the most dangerous job to do in this country is that working in the interest of poor people, because the rich people see this as against their interest. We stop them from the corruption they're into. So they want to get rid of you as much as possible. So they damage your name, spoil your name. What haven't they called me? But they won't be able to make it. I tell you, they won't be able to make it. The reason why they won't be able to make it, because by the grace of God, I can control my stomach, and my wife does very well too. So they're not going to be able to make it, because I'm not going to submit myself to the secret societies and which they are in now. They ran behind me to join it. I'm not a member. The main advisors to the economic advisor now from that secret society. I don't need to call names or anything, but so you know what I'm talking about. People know what I'm talking about. Is I'm not willing to add 2 + 2 to get 5. I'm not willing to do that. And in order to not be willing to do that, you have to be able to control your stomach. You have to control your lifestyle. I'm not going to say, well, I need to have sleep with 4 or 5 women. I need to have food from England, all these things, so forth. I need to have this kind of car, that luxury car, this and this, so forth. So I have to bend down to then again. Even one religious leader here prostrated himself on the floor to the president. Well, flat on the floor. And the Daily Observer publisher Kenneth Best didn't play to write a very good editorial on it. So even the Muslims, the Hindus, they prostrate only to Allah, to Buddha, to God. You only prostrate, so it's that bad.
Right.
But because it's that bad, it provides an opportunity for us who know better to work better. So that's why I thank you for this interview, because here I am now. I mean, I'm a late bird. I probably go to bed till about 1:30, 2 o'clock or something. In fact, last night this morning I went to bed 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm working. And when I stay up after 3 o'clock, I keep working until the sun rises.
Wow.
You
And when we have so much to talk to you. About, we'll definitely want to have you back. But let's go to our present. You know, you may mention what's your relationship with the present, or what are you doing presently? Because 2005 you endorsed Kennedy George Weah. 2011 you endorsed Kennedy Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the runoff. So right now, what's your role? You know, what are you doing? What's your relationship with the current administration?
Good question. I have run also for the presidency 4 times.
Yeah.
It's a good question. The reason why I say we in the sense that people work together endorse President Weah in 2005 is because the main choice between Liberian people war and peace. And so President Weah didn't have any war record.
Mm-hmm.
So in the second round, we went with him. You get that point?
Yeah.
You get that point?
Yes, sir.
All right. In 2011, we look at the record. For instance, even a decent work bill in the legislature, in the Senate for 5 years, and he was a member of the Senate. They didn't do anything about it. Put it down just to collect dust on the floor. And then Elita Manning, who is the founding president general of the Liberian Labor Congress, and I, we worked very hard, raised consciousness, and we managed to motivate people to get mass consciousness moving and to get that bill passed. The Decent Work Bill is now law, but after 5 years. After 5 years, it's stated, you know. So then, they had no basis for further support of that kind of operation, you know. That's why then I ran, but I was running in 2011, but I then got out. The reason I got out of the election because I found out that the electoral process was we had hard information. For instance, from the superintendent of elections in America, how Kokoya, who's the chairman of the election commission, was an American citizen.
Yeah.
It violates the constitution of Liberia. You know, and got 2 other people in America said, but focus on Kokoya. And so I said, well, for me to run is like I'm leading people into quicksand. And it's irresponsible, it's sinful, unpatriotic. You know, so I withdrew. I withdrew from that, and we took Kokoya to the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
and the Supreme Court, as we now speak, the Supreme Court said, "Well, we're not prepared to give a ruling on this." You know.
Yeah.
And they as we now speak, and you know, the electoral system is not changed for the better. The country will not get better because we will not choose good people to you know, and people get into violence. We're trying to prevent violence. Another civil war in that area will destroy the whole country.
Yeah, so that
the population passed away, you know.
So that what changed between 2005 and 2011 when you moved from Weah to Ellen?
I just told you what changed, but I emphasize it. The fact is that it didn't provide evidence, and they didn't provide evidence. In fact, there was no contact, no call, nothing at all.
Okay.
And that decent work bill, the decent work bill, saying in the legislature, a senator there, they put it under the rug. You get the point I'm making? So there was no evidence for additional support. No evidence.
Okay.
And in fact, the evidence was to cut off support. Am I clear?
Yeah, you are clear. But as we continue to hear, is your nephew? How is he now as president?
Well, you know, he's your nephew. Let's not personalize this. I'm an uncle. I'm head of family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? But as we say, only damu way. And you know, in Grebo too, that he doesn't call. In fact, a year and a half ago, he said, "Oh, uncle, now you know, 2019, he says, no come to office, come to house. When I went there in the morning, you know, whom I meet there? Whom I meet there? People were there, you know, that they're now. In his office, his chief economic advisor from a secret society there that he's a member of, and this and that, and the old football players. Those are people who only Dama way. He called me about 2 months ago. He sent me a text. He said, "Oh, Uncle Nassau, I haven't been able to get in touch with you, but I'm a bit busy. So now I'm not into the mentality of going to sit down on people's steps and so forth. Because, you know, the religious leader asked me in 2019 to chair a committee about the suffering people. I said, agreed. I raised $1 million Liberian dollars in a week to get it work done. They didn't pay me 1 cent. They can't afford to pay me. And as we speak, the report we did, they haven't taken ownership of the report. You see? And what I found out is that there's corruption. There's corruption among religious leaders. Not all of them, but some of them. Some of them in the office, church offices, $80,000 got lost. Another bishop office, almost $300,000 got lost. You know. So I said, how can they speak truth to power? They cannot. They cannot speak truth to power. You see, because of all the greed-driven situation. Yeah. You know. So and so this is the situation. But I hope I'm clear in terms of how I place my support and why I stopped running. Some people, in fact, I did a commentary on say winning is about performance, not title. Yeah. You see, because some people have got to be president now, but 2/3 of the children in the country who should be in school are not in school. Yeah. How you call that winning? So and they said, well, you lost 4 different times, you didn't get much. I said, no, I don't lose. I do not lose when I run. And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, because winning is about the performance, raising the awareness about people, the importance of getting into Liberian culture, Liberianization, and so forth. And this, look at most of the legislators in the 52nd, 53rd legislature who wanted to go back were not voted for, even under a flawed electoral system. You see, and the reason why because the people made enough noise. They made a lot of noise, and so it put pressure on the election commission, and that you know, as flawed as it is, you know. And the UN owes me a lot of money now. They're not going to give it to me because I made public that the voting registration machines that they brought are not good. They brought 2 voter registration, and they're not good. You know, you see, so I have to be prepared for this. And I said, well, okay, fine. I don't have a lot of money and so forth. And, you know, so this how am I going to manage it? I said, well, in fact, my wife called me, Mr. Cold Bull, because we cook some food and, then we can just put it and warm it up the next day and I eat it. Yeah. And I was somebody saw me the other day. I will not mention the gender. They saw me the other day and said, oh, you're looking dry. And your wife not taking good care of me. And I shook the person's hand. I held it tight. And the person said, you're squeezing my hand. You're squeezing my hand. And I said, what do you prefer, fat or fit? And the person said, fit. I said, I'm fit. I'm not fat, but I'm fit. But something I didn't tell them, which is a little side story, is I said, I'm not an economist for nothing, because if I got big stomach, I have more money to fill the stomach up. I didn't tell them about.
So Doug, you've been...
That's how it is.
You've been writing extensively. I read a lot of what you wrote. You write about violence. In fact, you say, if things don't change, there will be war. You also write about sanitation, poverty, and all these things. So I'm saying to myself, after all these years, you write about land, that the land issue and all that. After all these years, why do this same problem continue to persist, in your view?
The problem, I start correcting mistakes by starting myself. I'm just saying, well, I have not been communicating well with the people. Because some things have changed. Like I mentioned, most of the legislators who wanted to go back, but not said they didn't get back. Because people say, like, the youth will keep my invited me, but they not. Say, oh, how come we vote for people when they get there, they forget about us? You see, so that we're educating people about the record of these people, so they can. And then we're trying to change the electoral system, because if people get educated and the electoral system is still flawed, you get bad people getting in there. And so and these people who run the state have a lot of money. They've been supported by money people. Yeah. It's not easy. And some of our people here, especially people abroad, all they do is just say, oh, the progressive responsible, oh, this is it. The Tipoteh responsible, this and this. Just full of talk. As we speak now, how many of them have even contributed anything at all. The publications in the paper, so forth. But there are few. There are few of you. And what you're doing now, I thank you for that. But for the vast majority of them, just full of talk, just talk. And so this provides opportunity for us to walk the talk. You know,
exactly.
we are walking the talk. People talk, they don't walk the talk. You know, in other words, people do not perform on the basis of records. So it takes time, and not many of us who are leading the conscientization thing, so forth. But we have to take time. In fact, some 2, 3 in the morning, I'm talking with people 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, people abroad, so forth. Just try to talk with them. You know, and they say, "Oh, you don't sleep," or so. I say, "Well, you know, thank God, my physical fitness is intact. I can." And it will inspire other people too, who are much younger than I, to keep working. You know,
so that
you are right that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you ran 4 times, as you said, and in all of those 4 times, you did not even get to like 4% of the total vote. What have you been doing wrong, or just the Liberian people don't want you as the president? What's the issue here?
But that's a good question. Is that I've been doing the right thing. And I said, I wrote a commentary, winning is not about title, it's about performance.
Okay.
So when I run, the main objective is to be able to raise awareness, bring out the issues. Because people who run, you know, all of them, they don't bring out issues. Oh, you know, they give slogans. Oh, one change. You can have change for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know, one day hope, this and that. They just come up with these things, you know. But I said, like, we went to the Supreme Court, not a single political party. So when I run, the thing behind it is awareness raising. They help the people to understand, and the people would not take action for the better if they do not understand the sources of their suffering. You see, so that's why I run. Now, if it turns out that the electoral system gets straightened out, and my team, because this is not me and myself, it's a teamwork. If the team wins, then you know. You see, that's why we're trying now to see if we can get a unifying situation. Because when I went to Supreme Court with Council Tiawan Congress, my lawyers, so forth. I mean, you know, the 22 political parties, not a single one of them. Right. So I mean, not a single one of them showed interest in the main things that need to be done. So you know, the problem is enormous. It remains enormous. And so, starting with myself, I said, well, then I haven't been working as well with others, but we have to find new ways of communicating. That's why, in fact, God help me, I can sing. I even wrote a song in Pele. Why Pele? Because Pele is the most widely spoken Liberian language. You know, you can find different ways to communicate with people and inspire them so that we can take action. But there's a lot of work to be done. Work to be done because people. Yeah.
And that will you be running again 2023? And how do you look at the field?
Well, in terms of running for political office, it's highly unlikely. But I'm always running. You know, what I run for is for justice for all. Yes. I'm running every second for that. I run for that. But in terms of political office, I think my focus now is trying to see if we can get the right political organization that can mobilize lots of people in the country, but that the organization is also relevant. You have lots of political parties that are not relevant. And the reason the evidence is not relevant because not one of them went to back me as I went to the Supreme Court to change the electoral system. If the electoral system not changed for the better, you cannot get good people elected. It's impossible.
I was reading about you, and I saw that say Dr. Tipoteh is a founding member of the CPP. Is it the same CPP with with?
No. That's a complete falsehood.
You're right. I didn't want to believe that.
I'm not founding member of any CPP.
Oh, okay, I didn't want to.
CPP. Anything called CPP.
Right, I didn't want to believe that, but I read it.
I was commencement speaker for Ellis Cummings when he graduated from CWA. I was the commencement speaker. I had my Tipoteh sandals on, my gown, and my brother, the civil engineer, was dukes of the class. I was the commencement speaker there. But does he call me up? No, he doesn't. So I mean, that's his business. He's a multimillionaire, and so it's up to him what he does. But when all the people who are working to maintain the system of poverty generation, maintain the system of injustice, they got no better record. We are working to change the system from bad to good, and I'm providing leadership in that work. You know, I'm continuing. That's the main work I'm in now, trying to raise awareness so that we can change this thing for the better, non-violently.
Right, and you were part of that.
And that's why I agreed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I say you've been working on.
That's why I agreed to be on this program.
and we really appreciate your time. You also
I was a part of what?
this
You said I was a part of
disarmament,
what?
the disarmament guns for, and you've been part of this peace process, and you always preach
The
long
School for Guns program on the Susuku.
yeah, the school for guns. Now there's a much talk about
We set a world record.
yeah, there's a lot.
Set a world record. Susuku set a world record. We set a world record for DDRR, disarmament, demobilization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. We set a world record. Why we said it took less than $2 million United States dollars to work with ECOMOG to disarm 19,785 fighters. That 82% of those officially disarmed. A world record according to the United Nations Peacekeeping Office. A world record.
Right.
You know, and we said that, in fact, General Malu, who just passed away, you know, I talked to his wife, he just passed away, peace be to his ashes, and he said, in fact, you know, if Susuku were not with us, so many soldiers would have died, perished, because he was determined to go and pursue the disarmament. But we said, look, we're ready to send people to school. We're ready to send people to school. So we had school for guns. And he was very happy about this.
Right. And since that currently that because you work so much in the peace process, there's much talk about war crimes court. Where do you stand on this?
All right.
Yeah, what do you, I have not really heard much from you concerning that.
Well, maybe those words not used, but you heard a lot. I mean, about non-violence, so forth.
Yeah, non-violence.
Any crime, any crime is a crime, and it should go to court. You understand?
Right.
Any crime, you can't say, well, oh, I raped this woman, but it was just labor rape. You know, and you know, there's no such thing as a labor rape. A rape is a rape.
Yeah.
You got the point I'm making? I'm trying to lay a preface here.
Okay.
You know, and so a crime is a crime. All right. A crime is a crime. And now we're being asking for special courts to push things out, you know. And the people who fought during the war and sought forgiveness through the TRC, just like the TRC in South Africa under the chairpersonship of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. You went and said, look, yeah, I killed 100% plus, but I'm sorry. You please forgive me. And that person was forgiven. And then no court thing proceeded. But there are some people who they have not asked for forgiveness. You get the point I'm making?
Yeah.
And the TRC is part of Liberian law from the Comprehensive Peace Accord in Ghana. It's part of Liberian law. So you go there and you ask for forgiveness, but the TRC is over now. So it's over, but to the extent that some people didn't ask for forgiveness and they don't care about it, so then you take them to court. You take them to court. And so there's, in order to speed up the process, you have this special court being set up. You know, I will write specifically about it. I've written in principle, for the rule of law. You see? So, I mean, and the war and economic crime code, any crime, you know, you prosecute the crime under the rule of law. So I'm for the rule of law.
Thank you.
And I work institutionally too. The movement for justice in Africa is for the rule of law.
Yeah.
Justice for all, or there'll be justice for none.
One question that keeps coming from our audience here. Thomas Awaji keep asking, why is Liberia worse off since 1980? What would be your answer?
Worse off, I would think worse off means that why are the poor people getting poorer? That's what makes that. The number one problem here is mass poverty. It can't be worse off because this person doesn't have 3 cars or 2 cars or something. You understand what I'm saying? We have to then define what we mean. We have to say what we mean. When you say worse off, you know, for instance now, the Afro-Barometer. Huh? You know the organization called Afro-Barometer?
Yeah.
All right. They have done studies on Liberia since 2013.
Yeah. And
the latest study shows that over 80% of the Liberian people think that Liberia is headed in the wrong direction. Okay. Now, if they're wrong, it's not clear, but I think I define wrong direction meaning that over 80% of people are earning less than $2 a day, so they are suffering. And when you're suffering, it's not the right direction, is it? It's not the right direction when you're suffering. When you can't get food to eat. When you're living in garbage, the sanitation problem, the garbage, selling food in the garbage. It's not the right direction. Is the thing better off? You know, I work with, in fact,
Dr. Tipoteh, I don't want to interrupt you. You know the background of that question. Why?
No, we keep a conversation. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, the background of that question is because of the assassination of President Togba, and since that time, which according to some people, the progressive cause, things in Liberia have gone worse. That's the background I believe Thomas Awadji is coming from.
I've already responded to the question
about
this thing here. Why they keep on saying that progressives did this?
Yeah.
The elephant kill your baby. You don't look for you look for a rabbit.
The rabbit.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you bring that question again. I'll give you the same answer.
Okay.
The same answer. Who's been running the government? Who's been running the government? Isn't it the same Chewy party type people been running government? And they got the same policies. You produce raw materials for export. Since 1847, it's the same policy. Produce and then the corruption is there.
Yeah.
You know.
So
that's what President Salih said. Well, she did her best to stop the corruption, and it's still there. And this present president said that corruption is the #1 enemy. And the head of the central bank. You know what the head of the central bank said publicly? He said he didn't get appointed because of his competence. He got appointed because Grand Judea people voted for the president. He's from Grand Judea.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware. So what's your general assessment?
But then I'm raising question because I want you to reason with follow reason, follow the science, and not just take word for word. You know, is that if you appoint people because they voted for you, you know, and the man said this publicly. He said this publicly.
Yeah.
You know.
So what's your general assessment of the weird government as of today?
You asked a question. Let me give you one sentence. I try to give you more than that so it can get clearer.
Okay, sure.
A question about things are worse since 1980. Things have been worse. The best evidence we got is from the 50s, and things have been going. Where we were the second highest economic growth per capita growth rate in the world, next to Japan, and things have been getting worse since then. As far as the data can show, you know. So and you ask this question again, you know, that you know, that's what and Togba doing fine, but then the progressives came in, so forth. This elephant kill your baby. So look at the evidence. So not get personal. It's you know, talk about this. They get personal. Look at the evidence. What is good or bad in Liberia depends on whether poor people are getting poorer or getting better off. That's how you determine what's worse or what's better. Are poor people getting better off? No. Over 80% of the people in the country now have access to less than $2 a day. Is that better off?
No, I don't think so.
It's not better off.
I got two.
You get the point I'm making?
Yeah, I got two more questions so we can close.
I'm not clear on that.
You're clear.
All right, very well then.
Yeah. As of today, what's your general assessment of the current administration and the work they're doing?
Well, look, I don't want to get into a personal type of situation, but the general assessment of the situation in Liberia and the main situation in Liberia is to look at the poverty in the country. Over 80% of people think, according to Afro-Bio media, that the country is heading in the wrong direction. And the evidence I give is that over 80% of people have access to less than $2 a day. So there's bad state management. If you are managing well, this means that people are getting better off in terms of their living conditions. You know, you can come up and say, oh, I bought ice cream, I bought this thing, excuse me, I built this thing, I built that thing. But at the end of the day, you have to ask the question, is that how does this affect the poor people?
Yeah.
This is it. That's how you go about the evidence as to whether things are better off or not. And the evidence is that things are worse off. Why are they worse off? They're worse off because the the electoral system is flawed, and it ends up electing people who are promoting poverty generation through the production of raw materials for export. No value addition. They have foreigners now controlling and dominating the country through they call it neo-colonial, but in effect we still call it in a sense that, you know, for instance, Leopold Senghor and Diouf, they wanted to be still in the Leopold Senghor and Houphouët-Boigny, then they wanted to stay in the French Parliament. They didn't want to come out. The French told them and say, well, look, go back there. We'll put your flag there, take our flag down, but we'll do the same thing we've been doing. And what is that? Production of raw materials for export. Right. You know, so forth. That you had that now with all the cocoa in La Côte d'Ivoire. That you have over 60% of the people in the place that just the social economic condition going down and down. You know, because the cocoa production and export was just benefiting the rich people.
To sum it up,
so you have to look at the evidence.
So what is the way forward? Has with 50 years under your belt, how do we move forward? What is your advice?
The way forward is a continuation of what we're doing, and that is that we use knowledge, we use whatever resources we have, mainly the human resources we have, to in a way that can motivate people. Because people have to be motivated to move. And this country cannot move forward for the better if people are not motivated. So you have, especially the poor people, you have to motivate people then to change the electoral process. To change the electoral process from bad to good, so that good people can be elected. Good people will never be elected if the electoral process is flawed. Yeah. I've already told you why the electoral process is flawed. Yeah. And this is why I went to court. The only one I went to the Supreme Court, you know, because you have to live by example. I went to the Supreme Court, said, well, let's change the electoral process. Look at the chairperson of the Election Commission is an American citizen. It violates the Liberian Constitution. It's not correct. But they went ahead and had election anyway. Do you expect any good outcome from that? Of course not. Yeah. You know, of course not. So the way forward is then we have to not give up, keep motivating our people to make decisions that are non-violent, to change the electoral system.
Thank you.
So we can get good persons to make good decisions.
What does Dr. Tipoteh want to be remembered for?
Well, the work for justice for all. That we never got tired working to get justice for all.
Thank you so much, Doc. If you want to sing the song now in Pele, you have the time, and then we can hear from you for your concluding statement.
All right, very well then. And this song actually says that come, and listen to what I have to tell you about how God works. When you see God moving, there's always peace because there's always justice. God doesn't pick and choose. Pagamina boya belingala tike. Pagamina boya belingala tike. Pagamina boya belingala tike. Atike. Kunangata su. We are men falena. Kunangata su. We are men falena. Panga mina boya belingala. Ayite, Pangamina boya belingala tike, Pangamina boya belingala tike, Ayite, Kunanga tasu, lasa mene falena, Kunanga tasu, lasa mene falena.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Let God bless all of you. And then I will say, thank all of you for listening.
Tato, thank you. Imama, Ise, Balika. Thank you, Doc, for.
Very well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for being with us here.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Right. Any final comment?
All right. Thanks to everybody.
All right.
Well, the final comment is that we must never give up, and the problems we are facing provide an opportunity for us to work harder and better. And so we have achieved something good, but the problem still exists, as you started off with. And that main problem is that there's still massive poverty in the country, and so we must never give up to motivate people to use nonviolent means to change things for the better.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we want to have you back as many times as possible. We've just scratched the surface because we are only dealing with the topics. We want to go into detail the next time we have you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you as well. You're welcome.
Thank you. And we want to thank all our viewers. Sorry we couldn't go into our calls and comments because of time, but hopefully we're going to have Dr. Tipoteh back, and we're going to do that. But we want to say thank you so much for watching. Normally we don't close our broadcast without playing the songs that says we are all Liberians. No matter which side of the aisle you stand, we are all Liberians. Whether you came by boat, or you walked, or you were one of those recaptured from the sea, or you were one of those who came by boat from America, we are all Liberians, and it is incumbent upon all of us to do our best to make Liberia that glorious land of liberty. Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians.